When you reach the age of 65, you begin to see life through a different lens. The rush of youth gives way to a calmer, simpler existence. But sometimes that calm can be misleading, because as the body ages, it changes. And these changes don't always make noise. Sometimes they only whisper. Sometimes your body tries to warn you, but you're too tired or too busy to hear the signals. That's exactly why today we're talking about something very important. Because saying I'm fine doesn't always mean there's nothing wrong. Especially after the age of 65, the body begins to communicate in more subtle ways. These aren't symptoms that scream like pain or sound an alarm like a fever. They're quiet signs. Signs that may be pointing to much bigger issues happening in the background. Doctors warn us about this. After age 65, there are certain symptoms that should never be ignored, because doing so could lead to much more serious problems later. And the tricky part is these symptoms often seem very simple. A bit of fatigue, a mild digestive issue, a small change in behavior, but what we see is just the surface. The real concern lies beneath these small signals. In this video, I'll share 5 silent but critical symptoms that doctors specifically emphasize. These signs can affect your heart health, brain function, digestive system, even your vision. And most importantly, if caught early, the risks behind these symptoms can often be prevented. If you're over 60, or if your parents, spouse, or loved ones are in this stage of life, this information could be life-saving, because sometimes just a bit of awareness can lead to early diagnosis. And early diagnosis often adds years to a person's life. So let's take a closer look at the subtle symptoms that doctors have been warning about for years. The ones so many people tend to overlook, and let's uncover the potential risks that may be hiding behind each one. Because health is not just about feeling good. Health is about listening to your body and recognizing its silent warnings before it's too late. 1. Persistent fatigue and loss of energy. Fatigue becomes a more common experience as we age. But there is a crucial distinction that must be made. Normal tiredness is not the same as unexplained, persistent exhaustion that lasts for days. Some people wake up in the morning but feel no desire to get out of bed. They've had enough sleep, they haven't done anything physically demanding that day. Yet they feel drained, heavy, and unmotivated. This kind of persistent fatigue is one of the silent symptoms doctors most often warn about. Many people think this is just a natural part of aging. We're getting old. Of course we'll feel tired. But this assumption can sometimes overshadow more serious health problems developing in the background. In people over the age of 65, ongoing loss of energy can be an early sign of several underlying conditions. Heart failure, thyroid hormone imbalances, iron deficiency anemia, chronic kidney disorders, and even some early-stage cancers. In other words, you may feel fatigued not because your body is simply slowing down, but because something within your internal systems isn't working properly. Let's take an example. Walter, a 68-year-old man, loved spending time with his grandchildren, but recently, even after just 10 minutes of play, he would be out of breath and had to sit down and rest. His wife noticed the change and encouraged him to see a doctor. Tests revealed that he had narrowing in his heart valves. Had they not caught it in time, this fatigue could have been a warning sign of an impending heart attack. Unfortunately, not everyone is as lucky as Walter, because some types of fatigue are sneaky. The human body can adapt for a while, but that adaptation can also delay your awareness of the problem. So how can you tell if this fatigue is something serious? Ask yourself the following questions honestly. Do you still feel sleepy even 2 hours after waking up? Do you get short of breath with very little effort during the day? Do small tasks like climbing stairs or hanging laundry tire you more than usual? Have your energy levels noticeably dropped recently? Has this feeling lasted not just for days, but for weeks? If you answered yes to several of these, it's time to see a doctor. Because the issue here isn't just being tired. It's that the fatigue is persistent and unexplained. Some people may attribute this to psychological causes. And yes, depression and anxiety can also lower your energy. But dismissing physical causes would be risky. Because as we age, our internal systems become more delicate. When the balance between organs starts to break down, fatigue is often the first symptom you feel. Another key point, persistent fatigue may also signal a suppressed immune system, which leaves you more vulnerable to infections, chronic diseases, and autoimmune conditions. So remember, persistent fatigue is not just a symptom, it's a warning. your body may be trying to say something isn't right. That's why doctors take this issue seriously. A good physical exam, blood tests, thyroid hormone checks, and nutritional levels, all of these can help uncover the root cause of your fatigue. Remember, getting older does not mean giving in to exhaustion. Many people live active, fulfilling lives well into their 70s and beyond. But to do so, we need to recognize the quiet signals our bodies send us. If you've been feeling unusually tired for a long time, don't blame yourself, don't ignore it, don't postpone action. This isn't laziness or simply old age. It could be your body delivering a critical message. And sometimes hearing that message at the right time can protect you from years of hidden illness. 2. Sudden mood swings and personality changes. As people age, it's not only their bodies that change, so do their minds and emotions. However, these changes don't always occur in obvious ways. Especially sudden mood swings or unexpected shifts in personality are often dismissed as a natural part of aging. Unfortunately, this idea of what's natural can conceal a very serious chain of silent symptoms. Someone who has been calm, patient, and cheerful their whole life might suddenly become angry, irritable, withdrawn, or indifferent. Those around them notice the change, but often say things like, "It's just old age. They're more sensitive now." But this isn't merely a character shift. It could be a reflection of silent changes beginning in the brain. Doctors warn that sudden mood changes after the age of 65 may be one of the first signs of serious conditions like early-stage dementia, the onset of Alzheimer's, vitamin deficiencies, especially B12 and vitamin D, thyroid dysfunctions, or even brain tumors. And the most dangerous part is this: the person experiencing the change often doesn't notice it themselves. Being at the center of the change, they begin to perceive this new version of themselves as normal. But for those who know them well, the difference is unmistakable. Let's look at a real example. Elsa was a 72-year-old woman. She was known as someone who helped others, brought soup to neighbors, and made her grandchildren laugh. But over the course of a year, Elsa began to change. She no longer wanted to speak with anyone, got angry at visitors, and yelled, "It's pressing on my brain," when the TV was on. Her husband initially thought this was just loneliness and aging. But when Elsa began to misplace items, confuse words, and even get lost in her own home, they went to the doctor. The diagnosis was early-stage Alzheimer's. That's why emotional and behavioral changes shouldn't be dismissed as mere psychological issues. They can also be neurological or biological alarms. These symptoms often appear in the following ways: frequent and uncontrolled outbursts of anger, excessive withdrawal or avoiding conversation, loss of interest in activities once enjoyed, sudden episodes of crying, paranoia or extreme suspicion, unusual sensitivity or emotional fragility, aggressive behaviors that never appeared before. These are not just signs of emotional upheaval. In many cases, they are the physical expression of a deeper physiological cause. As the brain ages, it shrinks. Communication between neurons slows down. And for some individuals, this decline can be more rapid and pronounced. In addition, levels of serotonin and dopamine, the hormones linked to happiness, can change with age. All of these chemical shifts directly affect behavior. So what should you do if you or a loved one is experiencing these changes? First of all, don't chalk it up to just a personality change. Take the signs seriously and consult a doctor. An evaluation by a psychiatrist or neurologist can reveal what's really behind these behavioral changes. Also, sometimes these types of changes can stem from social isolation. Seniors over 65 who live alone, have reduced social interaction, and are cut off from the outside world are more likely to harbor suppressed emotions. And over time, those feelings can turn into anger, depression, or apathy. That's why consistent support, both physically and socially, is so important. A behavior change that's identified early can prevent more serious psychological or neurological issues down the line. Remember, a person doesn't just live through the heart, they live through the mind as well. And the mind doesn't always speak. Sometimes it simply changes. To detect that change, you need to look carefully, listen closely, and lead with empathy, because sometimes silence tells you more than a scream ever could. 3. Unexplained weight loss. Losing weight often seems like a positive development for many people, especially at younger ages. Going on a diet and shedding a few pounds can even make us feel better about ourselves. However, once you're over the age of 65, sudden and unexplained weight loss is usually not a good sign. On the contrary, it may be one of the most serious silent warnings your body tries to give. So, when is weight loss healthy? If you're deliberately following a diet, exercising regularly, and eating a balanced diet, yes, that's a healthy change. But if you've lost a noticeable amount of weight without making any effort, especially over the last few months, such as losing more than 5 to 6 kilos in 3 months, this absolutely needs to be investigated. According to doctors, unexplained weight loss in older adults can be an early sign of many serious conditions, including stomach, pancreatic or intestinal cancers, overactive thyroid, chronic infections, diabetes, depression, or digestive disorders. And this type of weight loss often progresses very quietly. People sometimes don't even notice a difference when they look in the mirror, but they realize their clothes are starting to feel loose. Maybe a friend says, "You've lost weight," but you don't notice it because you're still used to how you looked before. This quiet progression is a clue to how deeply something may be happening inside your body. Let's take a real example. Eric, a 70-year-old man. His eating habits were the same as always. He wasn't eating less or moving more. But over the course of 3 months, he lost 7 kilos. At first, he didn't think much of it. He even said, "That's probably a good thing." But then, looking in the mirror, he noticed his cheeks were sunken and the veins in his hands were more pronounced. His daughter grew concerned and took him to the hospital. Tests revealed an early-stage tumor in his pancreas. Had it not been caught early, the tumor might have spread to other organs. This example shows just how serious unexplained weight loss can be, because problems beginning in your internal organs can alter how your body uses energy. Your metabolism might speed up or systems may begin to malfunction. And you might simply think, "I've just lost some weight." Sometimes this weight loss is due to poor nutrition. As we age, our sense of taste dulls, chewing becomes harder, and appetite may decrease. Some people don't want to prepare meals because they live alone. Others lose their desire to eat because of depression. And all of this over time can lead to significant weight loss. So how can you tell if your weight loss is a cause for concern? Think carefully about your answers to these questions. Have you lost more than 4 kilos in the last 3 months? Did this weight loss happen without any diet or exercise? Are your old clothes now fitting too loosely? Have you noticed visible shrinkage in your face, arms, or hips when looking in the mirror? Has there been a significant drop in your appetite or eating habits? If the answer to these questions is yes, you should consult a healthcare provider without delay. Blood tests, hormone level checks, and digestive system screenings can help identify the root cause. Weight loss is not a disease, it's a symptom, and that symptom is often a part of your body's early warning system. Remember, as we age, the body's energy needs may change, but sudden and unexplained weight loss is never normal. It can also lead to muscle loss. And losing muscle mass increases your risk of falls, balance problems, and weakens your immune system. That's why if an older loved one is losing weight, don't brush it off. Don't just say, "You look great, you've slimmed down," because sometimes the quietest changes signal the loudest dangers. Weight loss isn't always about feeling lighter. Sometimes it's the first sign that something inside is missing. 4. Persistent digestive issues, bloating and constipation. As we age, many bodily systems begin to slow down. But among these, one of the quietest and most overlooked is the digestive system. Symptoms like bloating, constipation, or gas are often dismissed as minor inconveniences. Yet for those over 65, these signs may be pointing to something far more serious beneath the surface. If someone is unable to have a bowel movement for days at a time, or consistently experiences bloating after meals, the cause isn't always poor diet or lack of exercise. In many cases, persistent digestive issues serve as early indicators of broader health problems happening elsewhere in the body. Doctors frequently warn about this subtle signal. Chronic bloating and constipation. These two symptoms can be linked to conditions like colon cancer, digestive tract tumors, gallbladder disorders, underactive thyroid, bowel obstructions, or even certain neurological diseases. Constipation is particularly common among older adults, but assuming it's just part of aging is a mistake. Yes, bowel movements may slow down with age, but when this becomes a regular problem, the risks grow significantly. Think of it this way. The longer waste materials stay in your body, the more strain it places on your immune system. This internal buildup can lead to cellular stress and even trigger inflammatory responses. Additionally, retained stool increases pressure on the intestinal walls, potentially leading to polyps, bleeding, or inflammation. Bloating is often treated lightly too. It's just gas, people say. But if the bloating is constant, accompanied by feelings of fullness, loss of appetite, indigestion, or stomach rumbling, it may be a sign of deeper issues such as IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, gastritis, stomach cancer, or lactose intolerance. Let's consider a real-life example. Barbara, a 69-year-old woman, had been experiencing bloating after meals for over 6 months. At first it was only after dinner, but soon it followed lunch as well. She felt constantly full, avoided meals, lost energy, and her sleep became disrupted. She tried taking probiotics on her own, but nothing changed. Eventually, she visited a doctor. Tests revealed gallstones and an imbalance in stomach acid levels. With treatment, both her physical and emotional well-being improved significantly. This example shows clearly, bloating and constipation are not just uncomfortable, they can be red flags. So when should these symptoms be taken seriously? Watch for these warning signs. Fewer than 3 bowel movements per week, a feeling of incomplete evacuation after using the bathroom, blood, mucus, or very dark stool, abdominal hardness or a palpable lump, metallic or bitter taste in the mouth, heartburn, frequent belching, persistent loss of appetite or nausea. If you're experiencing several of these, it's time to see a healthcare provider. They may appear minor, but they could reflect systemic problems. It's also worth noting that certain medications often prescribed to seniors can disrupt digestion. Blood pressure medications, antidepressants, iron supplements, and some painkillers are all known to contribute to constipation. This is why it's essential to regularly review medications with your doctor. Dietary habits also play a major role here. Low fiber intake, inadequate hydration, physical inactivity, and chronic stress all contribute to sluggish digestion. But if these factors have been corrected and symptoms persist, there may be a more serious underlying cause. Remember this, gut health is the cornerstone of overall health. Our intestines are sometimes called our second brain. When something goes wrong there, it can affect not only our stomach, but our mood, immune function, and cognitive health. And as we grow older, maintaining that balance becomes even more delicate. So if you're experiencing bloating or constipation, don't treat it as just a passing inconvenience. It could be your body's way of saying, something needs attention now. Silent symptoms don't always start quietly. It's just that we often wait too long to listen. 5. Sudden vision changes and light flashes. Our eyes are one of the most precious bridges connecting us to the world. As we age, small cracks may appear on this bridge. Our vision may become less sharp, reading may become harder. These are natural and gradual changes, but some vision problems don't arrive quietly. They come suddenly, and when they do, it's crucial to notice them before it's too late. One of the silent but critical warning signs doctors emphasize is this: sudden changes in vision, light flashes, and floating objects in the eye. These signs can be the first indicators of more serious threats to eye health, especially after the age of 65. Such visual disturbances may point to the following conditions: retinal detachment, diabetic retinopathy, glaucoma, macular degeneration, optic nerve disorders. What these conditions have in common is this: if not detected early, they can lead to permanent vision loss. So how do these symptoms present themselves? Sometimes you might wake up and notice a sudden dark spot in your field of vision. Other times, while in a dimly lit room, you may see flashes of light out of the corner of your eye. Some people notice floating specks, threads, or fly-like shadows in their sight. Even if these symptoms disappear within seconds, they should never be ignored. Let's look at a real example. Hans, a 74-year-old man, was reading the newspaper when he noticed a black shape moving in the corner of his right eye. At first, he thought it was due to tiredness or lack of sleep. But a few days later, the shadow grew and began to obstruct part of his vision. When he saw an eye specialist, a partial retinal detachment was diagnosed. If he had waited any longer, it could have resulted in permanent blindness in that eye. This is why dismissing minor changes in your vision carries such high risk. The eye often shows signs of illness without pain. And when there's no pain, the danger can be even more severe. These symptoms may also reflect systemic diseases. For example, individuals with long-standing diabetes may experience damage to the blood vessels in their eyes. This can cause sudden vision disturbances or blurriness. Diseases like glaucoma develop slowly but irreversibly. They begin by narrowing the peripheral vision, often going unnoticed. Then suddenly, a flash of light or pressure in the eye might alert you that something's wrong. So what should you do if you or a loved one experiences any of these symptoms? First, do not downplay the changes. Don't write them off as caused by fatigue, aging, or the weather. Any sudden visual change should be evaluated by an eye doctor within 48 hours. Every hour of delay can increase the risk of irreversible damage. Second, regular eye checkups become even more essential with age. Many people wear the same glasses for years without checking their retina, optic nerve, or intraocular pressure. Yet these tests can be life-saving for those over 60. Additionally, some medications can affect your vision. Drugs used for high blood pressure, cholesterol, or depression can alter blood flow and nerve signals in the eye. That's why it's important not to overlook eye health during regular medical exams. Sudden changes in vision are rarely temporary. They are rare but important warnings from the body. Recognizing these moments and acting quickly can make the difference in preserving your eyesight. Remember, life may blur a bit with age, but letting your vision fade not only affects how you see, it slowly severs your connection to the world. Sometimes life whispers its warnings to us. There is no scream, no loud alarm, just a subtle voice coming from deep within the body. And hearing that voice is one of the greatest skills in old age. Every symptom we shared in this video may have quietly appeared somewhere in your life or in the life of someone you love. Maybe it's a fatigue that won't go away. Maybe it's a shift in your mood you've noticed but can't quite name. Or perhaps what seemed like a minor digestive issue or a flicker in the corner of your eye. These are not just symptoms. They are messages from your body. Sometimes it's a cell saying, "Don't ignore me." Sometimes it's an organ saying, "I need help." Especially after the age of 65, listening to yourself should become your top priority. Because these years are not for postponing, they are for paying attention. A small sign, when noticed early, can prevent a major illness. And that awareness may not only bring you health, it could also bring you a longer, more vibrant life. Now, I'd like to ask something of you. Have you or someone you care about experienced any of the signs we discussed in this video? Please share your story in the comments below. Because this channel is not just here to inform, but to learn together and support one another. Your experience might be life-saving for someone else watching. If you found this video helpful, please don't forget to like it and subscribe for more content like this. Each week, we create new videos to help you stay stronger, more aware, and healthier as you age. Remember, aging is not a decline. It's the time to care more deeply for your body and soul. You are valuable, and at every age, you are more than worthy of protecting your health.